What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Typically, this channel is a space to talk about photography and all things photography business. Today, I want to shake it up a little bit and talk about something very near and dear to my heart, and I know very near and dear to members of my community as well, which is work-life balance for the entrepreneurial mother. And this is more so for the moms who work from home and also have the babies at home or homeschooling or any of that sort of stuff, and you're feeling super overwhelmed and you're kind of questioning, like, is work-life balance a real thing? Now, I'm definitely not an expert. I have been working from home and homeschooling for almost 9 years now, so I do have some skin in the game, but I don't think I'll ever be an expert, and I'm still out there searching for things day after day as well. With that being said, through my 9 years of experience, I have found things that have really helped me along the way, have really brought some sanity and peace to me along the way. And so I thought that I would share that with you in hopes that you'd be able to glean something from that too. Now, with that being said, if you are a photographer and you're here because you are looking to grow your photography business, then I invite you to check out our free masterclass. This is the 4-step method to getting booked out with premium prices. You can find that at elizabethwanzi.co/masterclass. And it's just a really amazing and free way to get really good information for your photography business and get you to that next level. And the stuff I talk about in there is, a lot of times people will say, like, oh my gosh, but I've never heard this before. Or maybe you've said it a different way, and so it really helped me. So definitely go check that out. But, I remember those moments through, again, almost a decade of being a stay-at-home, work-from-home mom, where I would just sit there, and it was a particularly hard day, or maybe even a week, or maybe even a couple weeks, where the baby's screaming again, and the house is a mess, and there's piles of laundry everywhere, and I have 20,000 emails that need to be responded, and, work's just like stacking and stacking, and all my kids are fighting, and I haven't made like a home-cooked meal for 3 days. And I just remember in those moments just kind of sitting there, like in a daze almost, and kind of looking around and just being like, how? Like, how are all these other women in my life seemingly doing all of the things that I wish I could do and seemingly doing it perfectly? Because right now, I literally feel like my head is going to blow up. How is this physically possible to have work-life balance? And so, I have a friend who she's like, she's always making crafty stuff for her kids and my kids and like the entire softball team. And she's amazing. And she always looks perfect. And she always smells good. And she's always dressed perfectly, not a hair out of place. Her house is always really clean, and she's like, oh, we're doing this and we're doing that, and they're doing all these activities, and that's amazing. I am like so inspired by her. But if I'm being honest, there's also a part of me as well that feels like not enough. And I'm saying that because I know that a lot of moms can relate. There's a part of me that goes, well, why can't I do that? Why can't I, make crafty things for my kids and their softball team? Why do I even forget to like pick up a bow for them? And I think that road is really dangerous, the road of comparison, for multiple reasons that we'll get into. But the biggest disservice that you can do to yourself, and that I've ever done to myself, was allowing myself to compare my life, my strengths, my situation to somebody else's completely different life, strengths, and situation. Because the truth is, our circumstances are completely different, right? And so where I'm comparing myself to one of my friends, and maybe someone's like house is pristine and sparkling and all of the things, they have a maid. And that's amazing. But I'm just saying, it's not the same as what's happening over here, where one person is like doing all these crafts and these amazing things and volunteering and doing all this team stuff. And that's amazing. And I would love to do that. But that person doesn't work, she's like a mom. That is her work. And so she doesn't work outside of being a mom. And that's amazing as well. But it's different than what I do. So when I realized that I have a habit, and I think it's pretty common, to take my circumstance and compare it to someone else's circumstance who's completely different, then I'm able to take a step back and go, okay, breathe, give yourself a little grace or a lot of grace, and understand that we have different strengths, we have different circumstances, all of the things that I mentioned before. And so, when you say work-life balance and the truth of that, you're basically saying you want to have it all. And I guess what I'm saying is you need to define what having it all means to you. Because I find that often we define having it all by what it looks like for somebody else. And so we're stuck in this sort of rat race of trying to have it all based off of somebody else's have it all, but never actually getting there because that's not what is truly important to us. So for example, where having it all and work-life balance would mean maybe your house is spotless and there's home-cooked meals for that person, and you're striving to do that because you think that you should, maybe having it all to you means that your house isn't spotless, it's not filthy, but it's somewhere in the middle, and maybe you're getting home-cooked meals on the dinner table 3 times a week, but those other times a week, you guys are going out and doing amazing adventures together. And so the dinners aren't that really important because you'd rather go out there and adventure with your family and visit museums and be at picnics and parks and softball games and all the things. But you wouldn't know that unless you define what having it all actually means to you and your family. So that has been really helpful for me to kind of see the difference and understand that, like, what I see as success in someone else's life as a working mother or a mother period who's not working, and I'm still comparing for some reason, is not what I define as having it all, if that makes sense. The second thing that's really helpful is inevitably there's going to be times when I'm working that my kids need me more. So, for example, this past week, I actually had 2 weeks blocked out for my team and myself to basically go in, do YouTube videos, do Instagram content, social media content, Facebook content, all of that stuff. We blocked 2 weeks out for us to just get it all done. And this is the first time we've ever done it because we're trying a new content system. And so it felt really exciting. We were prepared. We had meetings about it. There was a lot of buildup. We had a whole quarter update about it. It was a big thing. And I believe, second day of that week that I was on a roll and I was filming videos, I got on a call with my accountant, and my son walks over, sits in my lap, my 2-year-old son, he just starts throwing up everywhere. And so obviously I get off the call. I actually had a coaching call that night with my Roadmap to Booked community. I had to cancel that. And then subsequently, after he threw up, my daughter threw up, then my other daughter threw up, and it was just like day after day after day. Long story short, the entire week in terms of work was a wash because then I got sick, then my husband got sick, and it was just like a hot mess, and none of us could do anything. And so it was easy for me to get really frustrated before I got sick and say, like, I had these huge plans and we did all these amazing things and my team's waiting for me to do this. But the one thing that I always tell myself when I get frustrated because maybe I'm not able to work on something at that moment because I'm doing something for my children is, as a mother, they aren't distracting me from the important work. They are the important work. And that's just a really good shift for me to remember sometimes when I get resentful or when I feel frustrated or when I feel like, why can't I just do this one thing? The reality is God gave his children to us as mothers because they are our most important work. There will never be anything more important than our children and raising them to be beautiful humans with beautiful souls and minds and be beautiful adults. And that is done by being present and being the best mama you can be. And I truly believe that when you prioritize that in a strategic way, which we'll talk about in just a second, then everything else unfolds as it should. And then the next one is just get help. For a lot of people, getting help seems like a far out thing. I know that because that's how I felt, and they think, I can't afford it. But there's different ways that you can get help. You can even get help within your family. So like my daughters are 7 and 9, and we got together as a family for a family meeting, and I said, I want to do home cooked meals. I just can't do them 7 days a week. So we dedicated one day to one of my daughters, one day to another of my daughters, 2 days to my husband, 2 days to myself, and we take Sundays off for Sabbath. So I went from doing 7 days a week to 2 days a week and recognizing Sabbath, and that in itself is getting help, and that's completely free. Plus bonus points, it's teaching them how to be responsible and cook for themselves. So can you find help within your family to do the chores, to do all of the things, so that you're not constantly frazzled and feeling like you're behind in getting to work when you need to get to work? Another thing is when I started to make like a little bit of money, I immediately went and hired a contractor for my business, for my team. She works 20 hours a week. She's amazing. She's been on for a while now, but she takes the workload off of hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of work that I would have to do on my own. And that's obviously something that you can add on later if you feel like you can't afford it now. But even if you could just find someone part-time, even if you could just find someone to come in once a week for a few hours, so you can go out to a coffee shop and work on your... Another thing that you can do is I've heard of people who hire a laundry service to do their laundry, or somebody that comes in and does personal assistant work, and basically they do all of your... Actually, leave the personal assistant stuff because I feel like people won't relate to that. But my big question to you is, what in your home can you outsource? What in your business can you outsource? How can you get creative with the ways that you're outsourcing, so that it doesn't have to be a huge expense, but it takes off a portion of the load that you're doing as both a working and a stay-at-home mama. And then the last one, which is huge, this is why I saved it for last, is when I was talking about planning strategically and organizing your day strategically, what I really mean, and this has been so helpful for me the second I started my photography business, is I set a time limit every week on what I was willing to work in order for me to show up in the way that I wanted to show up as a mother and a wife to my family. So my time limit now, running two businesses, the wedding photography business and the education business, is 16 hours a week. So what that looks like is 3 days a week when my husband gets home from work, I will go in and I will do my work. So that's 12 hours because it's about 4 hours each day. And then after that, if I need to continue and do more stuff, sometimes I don't, sometimes I have a 12-hour work week, I will do it on a Saturday because we try as best as we can to recognize Sabbath on Sunday. So that will look like maybe I didn't film the video I needed to, or maybe I have a newsletter that needs to go out, or I have a client who needs me to look at a timeline for them for their wedding. Whatever that is that trickles into the weekend, that is the remaining hours that I'll do it. But the reason this is important is because once you identify what that time cap is for you, whether it's 20 hours, 25 hours, 12 hours, whatever that looks like, you have to then take that time and get laser focused on what you know is going to work. So you no longer have time to spend 40 plus hours researching and dilly-dallying and re-editing and doing all of the things that are kind of time wasters in your business that typically other people do, because you've now set a cap on the amount of hours that you're willing to put into your business. So I think it's really smart. You'd be surprised on how much you can get done when you take out all of the filler crap and you replace it with the stuff that's actually moving the needle forward. I believe you get really strategic, you get really smart, you start to invest in things that will get you there quicker, which is always smart. And it's great because then you get to have the true work-life balance where you log out of work, you're good to go, and then you're hanging out with your family and you're doing your thing and you're feeling good because you are feeling like you've put in what you should put in for the amount of hours that you dedicated for that week, and you're feeling like you're showing up like the type of person you want to show up and be in your life outside of work. So to sum it up, the truth is when people say, I don't believe in work-life balance, which is what I hear all the time, I don't believe that. I really do think that you can have it all. I just think that you need to be realistic about what having it all means to you and not defining your having it all based off of what society tells you or what somebody else is having it all looks like. And I think that you need to get strategic and, go through the tips that I talked about. Those have been really helpful. And I would love to know in the comments, as a working stay-at-home mama yourself, maybe you're homeschooling, maybe you just have littles at home, you're not quite there yet. What are some things that have helped you throughout your journey as well? Because when I was in the early years, I was constantly trying to figure out like workflows and day in the lives and all of those things. And these tips have really helped me, but I'd love to hear yours as well. So again, if you're here and you're a photographer, definitely, side note, go check out that masterclass, elizabethwansey.co/masterclass. That's going to show you how to build a photography business, but also do it in a way that just allows you to live your life and not be on the struggle hustle bus, if you will. All right, you guys, that's it for tonight. As you can see, this is my version of life balance. Kids are in bed. Didn't make it this week to film all my videos, so we have the green cast and we're doing it at night, but it's all good. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.